they did an adoption event at an open house for one of the properties we built. And this was in December. And the outpour and the turnout for that type of event was out of this world.
We want to rewrite the narrative of what a shelter looks like. We don't want people to think of the pound puppies,
Yeah.
We don't want the Sarah McLachlan music playing in your head when you think about walking into the Humane Society.
Yeah. What's some advice you would give?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll say first of all,
Well, good morning.
good morning.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So I'm excited about talking about what you do every day.
Okay.
Because it's a far stretch from what I do, but it's something that people connect with pretty well. So like tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Erin Simmons. I am the Relationship Development Operations Manager at the Greenville Humane Society. So a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, you just play with puppies all day. Some people, yeah, not me. I don't play with puppies all day. I'm able to go pet a dog if I want to, but I do the relationship development side. So that's all relationship building. If it's internal, external, I'm kind of over our staff development and also over any kind of outreach we do. So my team, developed in my team is marketing, fundraising, volunteership, all of those aspects.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, for people that are listening and maybe don't know, like what is Greenville Humane Society?
Sure. So the Greenville Humane Society, first and foremost, is an animal shelter. People think about an animal shelter, they think about adoptions, and we do a lot of adoptions. It's a large part of our mission. We do around 4,000 adoptions a year, so large operation. But also we offer public services to people that may be adopted from us or already have pets. So we have a public spay-neuter clinic, we have a public vaccine clinic, and we offer those services to anyone. You don't have to adopt from us to have those services. They are at a low cost, so they're affordable for everyone. And we also have a special facility that we're really proud of. It's called our Healing Place, and it's really one of its kind for a shelter facility. And in the Healing Place, we're able to take animals from the public, from other shelters, found animals on the side of the road that might be really sick, or maybe they got hit by a car, have a gunshot wound, and we're able to take them in and help them recuperate and heal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long have you been with Greenville Humane Society?
This is my 7th year at the Greenville Humane Society, so a good while.
Yeah, that's wild. So like what's the favorite part of kind of like, I don't even have to be necessarily in your job, but like just the mission of what Greenville Humane Society does? Like, what do you feel like you
Sure.
just connect where you're like, this is where I need to be?
My favorite part of my job personally is that it's different every day. I get bored easily and I don't like monotonous same day things. I do a lot, but because of that, I'm able to talk to different people all the time. I'm able to go into the community and talk about what we do. And it's really fun for me to be able to go somewhere where maybe someone doesn't have any clue what we do, like this, and talk about what we do. I like to let people know that our services are available to everybody.
Yeah. Well, so what's really cool about this is like, in what we do, working with families every single day, everybody is like, has some kind of like pet, animal, something. And so there's a lot of like emotional heartstrings between relationships with humans and animals. And,
sure.
my sister is probably like, she got it all from my side of the family. Like, I don't have pets. We started having children and we no longer have pets. And, my kids always tell me, they're like, hey, Dad, we need a dog. And I'm like, well, I need all of you guys first
I can set you up with that.
to learn how to like care for your own basic needs before we add a dog to
Right.
it. And now, like, especially like we're probably closer than we've ever been, to where my wife has kind of warmed up to the idea of bringing a dog back in. But when we first got married, like I guess a lot of people, one of the first things we did as a couple is went and got a puppy. And we got an English Mastiff puppy.
Wow.
And his name was Chops. And he was a monstrosity of a dog. And it was good because I worked out of town a lot. And so my wife was like, I want something big and like scary to people and like protect me. And he was just a big baby, but he was a big baby. He was a little over 200 pounds, when he got about 7, 8 years old. And then when he passed away, we had moved to Utah, and my grandmother was living by herself, and we didn't want to try to make that trip with him. He was kind of old at that point in time, and he started staying with her. She had a big fenced-in area for him, and while we were moving and stuff. And so when we made the move, we were like, hey, you want to like just keep Chops and like, she's like, absolutely. Cause like, she's like, I feel completely safe with this monster in my
I
yard.
love that.
And, but like he was our little baby. Like, and so like we didn't have kids at the time. And so it was just like, that was our first baby, was this 200-pound Mastiff puppy. And, we had a couple different dogs during that time period, but like Chops was just kind of like the one like that we rescued, I think, 2 other dogs that were also large breed dogs. One was supposedly a Mastiff, maybe somewhere in their bloodline, but it was not. Looked like one as a puppy, but not. And then they were kind of on my parents' farmland, and so they became like farm dogs or whatever. But my sister is an absolute animal addict. I don't even know if you'd call it a lover anymore. It's beyond that. Like she, when she was really young, my parents got her a small Pomeranian puppy, and she carried that dog around forever. Like it was like a toy to her. It was like everywhere she was, he was, and like she just always had this big love of animals. And she's got so many dogs, and she's rescued so many animals, and she's got a little micro farm, and she's got pigs and goats and ducks and pit bull rescues, and she's got another little Pomeranian dog. She's got a little English bulldog looking dog. I don't know what he really is, but his name's Tink. He's the head dog in charge out there.
That sounds like she's living my dream life.
But she like everything, and like the stuff that goes around it. Like I get it, because being a dad, like we have all these responsibilities, but she has them as well. So like her and her husband, like they just got started doing foster care, and so they've got 2 little children in there now, and so now they're trying to manage and blend all that and like care for all these animals, and like it's a lot of work. And so I tell her all the time, like, hey, there's a reason why you have 50 animals and I have none, is your allocation of time and commitment to it. Because I think the worst thing you could do is just on a whim have an emotional purchase of an animal and not be prepared to care for it. And and then also it wasn't like I can easily talk about when we moved and we let Chops live with my grandma and all that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of like, it was hard because he was a member of the family, right? And so like just trying to get back in that. And then when he passed away, it was like all these things. It's like, it's a big commitment. And, with especially with the Mastiffs, because they don't have a huge lifespan. And it's just a back and forth game. Like we want our kids to have dogs, but we also want them to have the time to actually spend with them. So they're not just an animal that happens to live on your property, that they're actually like well cared for. And, this connects on so many levels. In our Somerville location, Alicia Fields, director of client experience in our company now, she's got a heart for animals. Like she's got 2 bulldogs, and that's all she talks about is her babies. And, one of the missions of our company is impacting communities with people that share our vision and share, who we are as a company. Like you share our values. And so they, in Somerville, they were like, we're going to partner up with, I think it's the Humane Society down there. But they did an adoption event at an open house for one of the properties we built. And this was in December. And the outpour and the turnout for that type of event was out of this world. Like I was thinking, like that's cool, it's different strokes for different folks. Like I'm not as impacted by that as like, but the community as a whole. I'm talking 50, 60, 70 families showing up to this thing on a Saturday, and that's hundreds of people. They're coming through and they're looking at Barndos, and like families that are there to like tour this Barndominium are adopting shelter puppies, for their families. And it's just, it's kind of crazy. And I think the lane that we're in with like this Barndominium, like we're in that rural escape, like the American dream. And these families are really wanting to do something different and get out of their HOA box and go out and kind of start their homestead and start their forever home. And the vast majority of them are animal people.
Right.
So when we started talking about opportunities to kind of highlight that, like you coming in from the Greenville Humane Society was a big deal, right? Because it just connects with our people. So I guess to spin off of that, like I'm in the housing industry, you're in the pet game, right? and on both sides of it, right? Like you see the happy stories of the adoptions and stuff like that, but you also see the abandonment and the neglect and
Absolutely.
there's a big misunderstanding of what do you do with dogs who don't have homes. And it's not always a blessing, right? It's like
Right. It's a lot of work. And, sometimes we get animals that they come from really, really bad situations. And sometimes that it's just like people that can take a mental toll on them.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot.
So like, I guess this, if you were to speak into the housing needs, right? So like somebody's building a home, they're animal people, they've got animals, or they're envisioning, hey, we're going to get out of this apartment, or hey, we're going to get out of this townhome, or hey, we're going to get out of our small 10th acre, first starter home environment, and we're going to go purchase some dirt, and we're going to build this Barndominium. And our dream is to either provide a space for the animals we have, or we're going to move there, take our family there. And one of our dreams and goals is to get, pets for our kids or something like that. Like, what's some advice you would give on ways they could explore that, and also like things that they could do to kind of prepare themselves for that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll say, first of all, I think pets are versatile and pets are adaptable. So think about your preferences and your lifestyle. If you like small dogs and you're thinking, I'm going to be living out in the woods, off the grid a little bit, do I need a little small dog? Sure, why not? There's still things you can do. There's different precautions you have to put in place for different animals. So, for instance, if you were a small dog person, you're going to be out kind of more off the grid, like I said. Just think about things like there's going to be more predators there than there would be in a neighborhood. If you're taking your dogs out, make sure you're going to have them on leash. Make sure you're looking out for birds, large birds. I have 3 small dogs myself, and that's the thing. Even in our neighborhood, I have to look for hawks. If there's hawks out, I got to keep an eye on them, things like that. Most people in that kind of lifestyle are going to lean toward more the larger dogs, I would think, the more active breeds, your hounds, your retrievers, those styles of more outdoor dogs. And for those, I think a lot of it is think about the health needs that they need. Those animals need a lot of exercise. So if you're going to be out there, maybe you're setting your homestead up, give them the training they need where they can be off leash, but they know to stay back. They know to stay with you. Work on their recall, that they can be right there with you. They're not getting off in the woods, getting lost, getting away from you in some way. And also with the health side, animals that are outdoors more need a little more health care. There's different vaccines they need outside of their core vaccines. They're going to be around wildlife more. They're going to be around streams or open water, things like that to take into account. Yeah. I also like to say I love cats. I don't have cats because my husband and my child are allergic to cats.
Right.
However, cats are great in an environment like that. If you're someone that travels a lot, if you have small kids, you feel like you have a huge workload, get a cat. Cats are great, especially outdoors. We have a lot of cats that come into our shelter that haven't had a lot of human interaction, and they're great barn cats. So if you're going to be off the grid somewhere, you're going to have a farm, you need a barn cat to keep those small pests away, keep small rodents out of your barns and those kind of things.
This episode is sponsored by the Barndo Co. You can visit us online at thebarndoco.com and get started building your dream Barndominium today. We specialize in build on your lot turnkey Barndominium solutions. We have a whole gallery of plans that you can explore through. You can also go full custom route. You can get in touch with us through the website by filling out the Contact Us form, and one of our Barndo professionals will reach out to you, get your dream started today. Yeah. Though what's funny is we actually purchased a farm recently, me and my family, and like when we kind of moved in and took over the operations of this farm. We don't have any livestock or anything out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like it's intended for like venue purposes, right? So like weddings and stuff. It's like my wife's dream. But we moved in, and my kids are like, "Oh yeah, like now we can get some livestock, we can get some animals," and they're so excited about that. And I'm trying to piece that together. Like, oh my god, I grew up in that environment too. Like my dad, he raised cows, and we did different things, and like, just trying to prepare for it. But what's funny is when we got there, we were like touring around the property with the former owner, and he's like showing us the ins and outs. And it's a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of buildings, and a lot of property. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, there's like 30 stray cats out here." And he's like, "We feed them." He's like, "I don't know where they came from. They just show up here, and they're barn cats."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they're annoying because he was allergic to them. He's like, they're annoying to me because I can't be around them because they drive me crazy. I sneeze and everything like that. But he's like, but they're also very valuable because we don't have a lot of pest issues. We don't have a lot of rodents.
They are. It's a huge thing that people don't think about. And I will say, if they get out of control, get them spayed and neutered.
Yep.
We we call it TNR, Trap, Neuter, Release Program, where people bring in feral cats, outdoor cats. We get them spayed and neutered, and then it's not a problem anymore because cats will multiply.
Yeah.
But they're very helpful.
Yeah. Well, like you don't see them. And it's funny. There's like little food and water bowls all over the property. Like everywhere you go, there's one there. Like, yeah, I mean, we put food out for them, and like, you know, they just keep around. I'm like, I bet they do. You know, they enjoy.
If you're feeding them, they're going to come back.
Yeah, they've got
that's where they live.
They just got all this land to explore and stuff. And so, I've never been a cat person. I've never had one, but you know, there. I guess there is an upside because, you know, again, they're going to keep rodents at bay, and you don't even know they're there. Like they're just in the shadow, just chilling. You know,
I think cats are great for people that are not home a lot. You know, they like to keep to themselves, and they're really self-sufficient.
Yeah. So I guess if you were going to, like, say a family wants to come in and they're thinking about, you know, the adoption side of things, you know, cats and dogs, all these different options and how to work like that. And then, like, a lot of times, you know, pets are also like status symbols, you know, and so people have all these like bougie breeds, and you got all these things, and you know, they just every day there's a new one that they crossed with a poodle, and there's the, you know, like there's that whole side of it. They're cute. Like I got tons of friends that have all these little different animals that, you know, they're like little teddy bears, and you know, my wife will show me puppies and be like, hey, you know, like these are cute, and you know, like you got a $5,000 puppy, and then you've got a humane society that has tons of animals that need families, and you know, the support and the way that they've been vaccinated and cared for and spayed and neutered and all these different things. Like, how do you bridge that dynamic for people about finding a companion? Because the mindset, and I'm one of these, the mindset is like, those are prison dogs. You know what I mean? Like, those are rough necks, man. Like that's, you know, like that's prisoner release. I tell my sister that all the time. I'm like, I'm not coming in your fence because, you know, you got all these felons in there, and you know, like they're gonna gang up on me, and like, and they're intimidating looking dogs. Like there's a lot. Absolutely. Like she has a gaggle of like 3 of them that are, you know, some kind of, you know, pit mix, something like. And again, I'm not an animal person, like in that world. Like everything I say, I'm like, that was like a pit bull to me, you know, and like, and they're a little bit aggressive.
Well, in an animal shelter, most of what we see are pits. Yeah, you know, it's just the reality of how it is. But also, a lot of them aren't. You know, I am not against purebred dogs. I have 2 purebred dogs myself. However, I will say, go to a shelter first. We get purebred dogs all the time at our shelter. I mean, it used to be more rare when I first started there 7 years ago. It wasn't super common that we would have them, but now regularly, I would say on a monthly basis, we get a French bulldog. We have doodles, poodle mixes all the time. They're always on the floor. So those desirable breeds are at shelters for a lower price than you're going to get at a breeder. And the reason for that is, you know, it's good to have, some people like a certain breed for a certain reason. You know, it might have different characteristics that they're looking for their lifestyle. A lot of people don't know that when they adopt these dogs. You know, they might get a doodle because it's cute and it's trendy right now, but then when they get it, they're hyper. Yeah. They can be a little neurotic. So they spend all this money on this dog and it ends up in the shelter anyway. So always, even if there's a breed you like, check at the shelter first. Good chances you're going to have it. Yep. A lot of shelters, I know our shelter does, we have what we call the BFF program. So if you go and you're like, I really want a German short hair pointer, you go, you look, we don't have one. You can add your name to the BFF list for that breed. If we get one in, we'll call you. You get first dibs.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And even dogs like that. We get German short hairs all the time.
Yeah, I imagine that, especially in Greenville, right? Yeah. Like with all the growth that's happened in the last 7 years, last 20 years, there's probably a bigger influx of people who probably are doing that. They move here with a breed that's not conducive to the new place they're at, or they're moving away, and like, you know, like you probably, like, I can't even imagine. Like, I never look at it from this perspective. Again, like I'm not an animal person that's just indebted into this lifestyle, but like I want to highlight some of it, and like it's fun for me because like I'm learning too. But like the need and where all these animals come from, because it's probably different now than it used to be, where, you know, animal control's going around picking up these aggressive dogs that have been on attack and all these different things. And like in my mind, I'm like, that's pound puppy, right? And then but there's a bunch of different circumstances around how those animals come in.
Absolutely. So we get our animals 50-50. Half are owner surrenders and half we get from partner shelters. The majority of the animals we get in from partner shelters, we know nothing about. Sometimes we'll know what their mama was. Sometimes we know nothing about them. But most of the time, those are puppies. They're moldable. You can make them what you want them to be. And puppies in our shelter, they don't stay very long. Right. So if it's a puppy in our shelter, it's going to find a home, and we're going to trust that it's in a home that's going to give it the training it needs, the love that it needs to be a good, well-rounded animal. Owner surrenders, more likely than not, are adults. And some of those come from fantastic homes. Most of them do. And they have been loved their whole lives. And maybe they are being surrendered because their owner died and the family can't take care of it. They're moving away. Housing situations change. Things like you mentioned. Those animals, they come in, they might get a little shut down and sad in the shelter, but they don't have any major behavioral issues and they'll be fine. And then there is the third part where we will have some animals that have some major behavioral issues. They might have some aggression issues. They might just be completely shut down to people. Some of these animals are from the streets. They may have never been touched by a human before. They don't know what it feels like to be loved. However, we have a team at the Humane Society. It's our behavior and enrichment team, and these are trained, certified dog trainers, and they spend all of their full-time jobs with these animals that are harder to place, that may have more issues, and they teach them. They teach all of our dogs basic training, sit, stay, all the little commands you want a dog to come with. Most of our adult dogs are adopted out with those basic manners already. That's really cool. And the ones that have better, like I said, the deeper, worse issues, we work with them the best we can, and we have a very, very good rehabilitation rate. Yeah, and sometimes it's just finding a special home.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, coming in from that perspective too is like if you come in and you don't know, right?
Right.
You guys are going to help paint the picture of what's conducive, right?
Absolutely.
Like, hey, what does your life look like? How does this look like? What does that intake look like? Like a family walks in, they're like, hey, we want a pet for our family, Like what does that journey look like for someone walking in the doors at Greenville Humane?
Sure. Well, if it's a family, the first thing we look at is kids. Do you have kids? What age are your kids? If they're younger, you're probably going to want a puppy, or at least not an older dog that's not going to want to be played with and have roughhousing around them. We look at things like your lifestyle. Do you like to sit home and watch movies all the time? Do you go hiking on the weekends? Do you travel a lot? All those kinds of things to help them see what the best fit is for them. We have plenty of people that come in and they think they know for sure that they want this dog. They saw on Facebook. It's great. They love it. That's their dog. They come in, they meet with our adoption counselors and get more guidance, and they learn, I'm a cat person. It's very common that happens.
That's awesome. Okay, flipping towards more like your relationships that you do,
sure,
right? For partnering and fundraising and things like that. Like what are some of the things that you guys do to get out to the public and see that? Because I imagine if you're doing 4,000 adoptions, how many animals are you guys housing in a given year or on a monthly basis and stuff like that? And like, what's your capacity versus?
Our capacity all in is about 350 animals, and that's about 250 for dogs, 100 for cats. And we are always over capacity. So our capacity is if we have every kennel is full and we have doubles in some of the kennels. If we have 2 adult dogs that are really friendly, they can be together. If we have a litter of puppies, they can be together, that kind of thing. When I say we're over capacity, I mean we always have every kennel full, and we also have wire crates in the hallway. We are a no-kill shelter. We are not the only there are many kill shelters in our area that we work closely with, and we don't want that to happen. So if they call us and are like, hey, we've got these 4 dogs, we got to get out today, we're going to take them, even if we're full. So that is our shelter partnership intake process. For owner surrenders, it's a little different. So if you're moving, if you have a new baby and your dog is just not vibing with a new baby, you need to surrender. We do have an appointment process for that, and there are some steps in place. They have to pass a temperament test. If it's an older dog, we have to do blood work to make sure there's no huge medical issues, because we're a nonprofit. We are operating on a budget. Yeah.
Circling back to the connections piece and going out and partnerships and stuff like that. What are some of the big events that you guys throw and
So we only do one big event that we personally put on every year. That's our Mutt Strut. It is a 2-mile, we say race. It is a slow walk through downtown Greenville with dogs. It's hilarious. Some people have them in strollers. It's really fun. And that is the end of April. We have it the same weekend every year. We typically have about 2,000 people that come out with their dogs. So it's really a huge event. It's really fun to watch all the people that come out. We've had pigs come before and walk in the race. It's great. And it's huge just to see the turnout from the community and see all the support. But again, that is our only fundraiser we do every year. We do a lot of events. We call them events, but that is community partners we have. It might be a business, it might be a school, it might be a civic group that comes out, and they just want to support us. So they will put on an event on our behalf, and we will go out. And that's where we'll take out animals. We will talk about our mission, talk to people about what we do. And it's great for us because we are a small team, but we are very busy all the time. So if we had to put on all these small events, they wouldn't be very well done. So It allows us to focus more on the animals and getting those homes for them while other people help us spread the word. So we really appreciate the community in that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what like, I guess, kind of behind the scenes stuff, like what's some big moves you guys got going on and stuff like that? Like, I mean, I remember where the Humane Society is now when it was first built. I think my dad actually put flooring in that Humane Society. And I remember when they moved in there, and like, you know, it's one of the nicer shelters that I've ever been in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a big place, and it's very nice, and it's unlike the visual picture that you paint of like what a shelter would look like.
So we did a full rebrand in 2017, and that was one of our goals. Is we want to rewrite the narrative of what a shelter looks like. We don't want people to think of the pound puppies. You know, we don't want the Sarah McLachlan music playing in your head when you think about walking into the Humane Society. So you pull into our property, and it's bright green buildings. We have huge pictures of animals everywhere. You know, we want it to be fun and inviting, and our staff help a lot with that. Just the people that work for us are fantastic, and they have such a passion for what they do. So that comes across with all of our customers. Yeah. And speaking to the growth we have coming, so last year we actually purchased property directly beside where we currently are, and we are expanding. We're breaking ground actually in February, the next month. We are so excited. We're breaking ground on this property, and we are going to be moving our public spay neuter clinic from where it currently is in our medical center into its own facility. So that will it'll let us do really double the amount of spay neuters we currently do. And we do a lot. We did 13,000 spay neuters last year.
Wow.
And we'll be able to double that. We're going to be able to have dedicated space for other shelters to come and bring their animals in. The vet shortage is a huge problem right now, really across the nation, but it's really, really bad in our area. There's not a vet school nearby. Clemson is starting one. That's going to be huge. But for now, there's not a lot of vets, but we are blessed with the vets that we have. So we are excited to be able to offer that to other shelters and other rescues. We are also opening an event space on that property, which I am personally very excited about because that's what I do. So with that, we're going to be able to expand our offerings. We're going to bring back our humane education program we used to have before COVID. We shut it down for COVID, but we'll be able to go into schools, have schools come into us, do Girl Scout troops, do birthday parties for kids. It's going to be really fun. And I think the thing everyone's most excited about with our expansion is we are going to start offering dog training to the public. Wow. So when someone adopts a dog from us and it's like, oh, I'm having some issues with them, they can bring them in. We'll do more one-on-one training with them and that pet so they can see the skills that we use and some of the tactics that the dogs are used to, and that'll help them.
So when you move the spay neuter clinic into its own facility, the space that it's taken up in the other facility, like, is there a plan for that? Is it?
It will still be a spay neuter space, but it will be all shelter animals. So currently the way we do spay neuter right now is it's split. Every day we do spay neuter. Half of the time is spent on public animals. Half of the time is spent on shelter animals. This will, again, it'll help allow us to do more surgeries and take in more shelter animals, because right now, if someone comes in and brings their dog, that's a kennel they're taking up during the day because they're here the whole duration of their surgery. And if we have 80 animals in there every day, that's a lot of space that we can free up for animals. So it's going to allow us, between dogs and cats, to bring in about an additional 2,000 animals a year as well.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you guys ever do any shelter for anything other than dogs and cats?
We don't. We are dog and cat only. Back in the day, in the early 90s, late 80s, where we are currently at was combined with the county shelter, Greenville County Animal Care. And there they did small rodents. You know, they had some birds sometimes. One of my coworkers worked there then as well. And she said she remembers having like hawks and stuff coming in for rehabilitation. But we're just dogs and cats now.
Oh, well, I mean, there's plenty of them. So you guys, but you guys do have a big space. Outside of that, and you spoke to this a little bit, but like, I guess just painting a little broader picture here. There's a family building a Barndo, what do you think is often overlooked, right, in the planning stages? If you're an animal person, or you think that, hey, we're going to get animals and we're at ground zero design level, what are some things you think that you would include in your home, being an animal person, that you think might be overlooked or people don't think about? Or, if you just had the ability to just start designing and you could cater it to that lifestyle, what are some things you think you would include?
Okay, so I think it depends a lot on the type and breed of animal you're looking for. For instance, I have a dachshund. I could never live in a house with stairs. It's just not good for that breed of dog. It's really bad for their spines. I think you think about that. If you're moving in, you're building around this with the idea of I'm going to have a dog. I'm going to have dogs my whole life, and I'm going to have dogs for their whole lives. You have to think about what that's going to look like. Making sure that they don't have hazards in place if they're a puppy. Don't be super close on the road if you're going to let them run around off their leash all the time. If you're planning to have them forever, think about those animals that maybe when they get older, as they age, they're going to have hip problems, joint problems. Maybe don't have stairs, or at least don't have their spaces upstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
And also outdoor spaces. It's
Yeah.
kind of different for a barndo. I think we talk about a lot with housing, because we talk to a lot of people that live in apartments or
Right.
live in a neighborhood. Like, you make sure you have a fence so it doesn't go off. Barndos are a little different because there's so much space.
Yep.
I think it's good to let your dogs off leash when you can, if they have the space, if it's available, just as long as you know the hazards that are in place. Like I said, make sure they have those vaccines. If you're living near open water, they need to have a lepto vaccine. That's very, very important. If it's a small dog, like I said, watch out for birds of prey. That's a huge thing people don't think about with their little floofy dogs running around. But a hawk has gone after my dogs before.
Yeah. Well, my neighbors have two little teacup somethings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tiny little dogs, and like they have a little tent outside that they put up, and take them out on leash for them to use the bathroom and stuff, and like come back in, and I'm like, their pool or something. They're older, and I'll be like. I don't ever see your dogs or hear your dogs. I'm like, we don't let them out, man. There's hawks that are nested up in the woods behind our home, like massive hawks.
Mhm.
And he's like, they'll eat them.
Absolutely. They won't even hesitate.
Yeah, they're like, they will eat them. And then also, like, we live in the country, and like, we had foxes back behind our house, and I mean, they were cute. Like, it was kind of overwhelming. So we eventually I had to bring in somebody who could trap them and relocate them. But at first it was like two. Like, we would see them, running through the yard or something. And then I guess, they had pups or whatever. But this is about 3 years ago. I came in, and it was kind of this time of year cold, but like it was starting to warm up. The sun's out beaming really bright, and they're just laid out in my backyard, like, 9, 10, 11 of them.
Yeah.
And we live across from a lake. And so all these Canadian geese are walking around, and I like experienced foxes hunting geese, and it was wild. And I was like, man, yeah, I could see how they are a predator, and
They
they're
are.
like, I need a meal, and so like it put it in perspective.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a lot of things that people don't think about with their pets. Like I said, I live in a neighborhood, but we're still near the mountains, so we have bears in our neighborhood.
Yep.
We'll have coyotes from time to time. Those things can be dangerous to your animals if they're left unattended.
yeah, not only that, but like this is a bizarre thing. But I remember when Chops was probably 3 or 4 years old. He's an English Mastiff. He's probably 170, 180 pounds at this point in time. But he could run deer down. Like,
Yeah.
he could tear through the woods, and he would drag carcasses up in our yard. Like, and I'm like, did you kill that or find that? But it's just a different world to go from a small community where you got some things, but then to just be out in the country where dogs are being dogs, right?
Right. And that's wonderful. That's so good for them to be able to be a dog and to have that ability. I always love to see somebody that moves from a neighborhood to a more country area, more off the grid, and they have an animal that they've had it forever. Say they have a dog. It's 6 years old. They've had it forever. It's used to being in a little apartment, and it just lays around. And then they build this house, they move out into the country, and that dog's like a different animal.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. It's great.
I guess kind of wrapping up would be like, if somebody wanted to get connected with you guys, what's the easiest way for them to find you online, set up, come in, talk to you guys, and start exploring that? Because again, the vast majority of people that we're encountering on a daily basis in this, like, they are animal people. Like,
Right.
It's very uncommon to build and not have someone. Like, we had a lady in our office a month ago or so that has monkeys. Like, and she's like brings them in, and they're like in a baby carrier. They're running around in our showroom, and all the people are like, "This is insane." And I was like, imagine living with that, But like, what's the best way for people to connect with Greenville Humane Society?
The best way to connect with us is going to be through social media. So Facebook and Instagram, Greenville Humane is what our handle is. Our social media team is great. They are super, super responsive. So they will get back to you right away and connect you with the right person. If you have any questions or if you want to see what animals we have available, all of our adoptable pets are located on our website at all times. It's greenvillehumane.com. Go to our adoptable animals page. It is by far our most visited webpage. Surprise, surprise. But if you have other questions as well, if you want to know pricing for our services, other services that we offer, all of that's listed on our website.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming out and spending a little bit of time with me and helping open up my eyes, at least, to this side of the thing. Because again, I'm not like I don't dislike animals. I just don't have any. And this is you guys do a lot more than I originally thought.
Right.
And again, my sister has kind of helped open my eyes to that because of her involvement with all this kind of stuff. And but I think this will be massively helpful for some people because again, like, you don't know what you don't know, and knowing that there's people out here that are like, this is your whole life. And you can walk you through the steps of like, what's a good placement, what's not, how do you have the best success with this, so you don't end up in a situation where you're having to surrender a dog, because you thought this is going to work out and now it didn't.
Absolutely. And animal sheltering has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years. We want pets to be pets for life. That's our slogan. We want someone to adopt a pet from us at whatever age they get it and keep it for the duration of its time on earth. So we want to make sure that happens, and we're going to give you the tools that you need and set you up for success.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. I'm pretty sure our team will probably be reaching out, trying to set up some kind of event too, especially after the Somerville one, because it was just massively successful. And we got a lot of dog people in our inner office circle. So
we love to show them off. So we'll be glad to come out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out and hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me.